At 94 years old, I still wake up in my own bed, brew my own coffee, and see my own name on the mailbox. This isn't a stroke of luck or a gift of superior DNA. It's the result of a daily conscious refusal to let my world shrink. You see, a nursing home doesn't usually begin with a sudden sirens and stretcher emergency. It starts much quieter than that. It begins with small surrenders. It starts the moment you decide to stay in because it's drizzling, or when you let someone else handle a simple task just because it's easier. If you're being honest, your life might already be shrinking. You go out less. You rely on others more. You postpone the things that used to be effortless. Most people don't realize they are handing over their independence until the keys are already gone. I've watched friends believe their freedom was permanent, only to wake up as a problem to be managed, rather than the author of their own story. Don't wait for a crisis to define your ending. Independence is a flame you must protect every single day. My first rule is simple, yet it is the hardest to keep when the bones ache and the spirit feels heavy. I leave the house every single day, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's raining in Seattle or if the humidity in Florida is thick enough to chew. Even if I have nowhere important to go, I put on my shoes and I step across that threshold. Why? Because staying inside is exactly how people start to disappear. It begins so innocently. You skip one outing because you're tired. You cancel a lunch because the drive feels too long. You tell yourself, I'll just stay in today and go tomorrow. But slowly, the world outside stops feeling like it belongs to you. Your legs weaken from the stillness, your confidence fades, and your circle of life gets smaller until, one day, leaving the house feels like climbing Everest. I watched it happen to my neighbor, Jim. He used to walk to the corner store every morning for the paper. Then it was once a week. Then, not at all. Within 2 years, he wasn't living in his home anymore. Not because he wanted to leave, but because he had physically lost the ability to stay. If you can stand, you must go outside. Not far, not fast, just enough to remind your body and the world that you are still here, still moving, and still free. Silence is a predator. It doesn't scream. It whispers that you no longer matter. After my wife passed, this house became unbearably quiet. No footsteps in the hallway, no one asking where the car keys were, no one to complain about the evening news with. Just a heavy, ringing silence. And if you aren't careful, that silence will convince you that your life is already behind you. When you stop believing you're needed, you stop showing up in the world. That is why I made a rule. I must speak to another human being every single day, out loud. Not a text message, not a like on a photo, and certainly not a comment on a screen. I mean a real voice and a real conversation. I talk to the cashier at the grocery store. I wave down the mail carrier, or I strike up a chat with a stranger walking their dog. Why? Because the day you stop being heard is the day you start becoming invisible. Loneliness isn't just a heavy heart. It is a physical weight that weakens your muscles and slows your brain. People don't always end up in nursing homes because of a broken hip. Sometimes they end up there because there was no one left who knew their voice. I kept mine alive, one conversation at a time. It reminds my brain how to socialize and reminds my heart that I'm still a member of the human race. Never let your voice grow rusty from disuse. Independence isn't lost in one dramatic moment. It is handed away, one small decision at a time. I saw it happen to my older brother, Robert. It started with the family helping him, choosing his meals to make life easier, scheduling his appointments, and eventually managing his bank account. They meant well, but they were slowly erasing him. He stopped being a man with a life and became a problem to be managed. By the time they moved him into a facility, for his own good, he didn't even argue. He had forgotten how to choose. That is why I force myself to stay responsible for my own life, even when it's inconvenient. I decide what time I wake up, what I eat for dinner, and how I spend my pension. Easy is seductive. It's very tempting to let a son or daughter take over the hard parts. But easy is exactly how freedom disappears. You have to stay the author of your own story, not a passenger in someone else's car. Once you stop making choices, you stop being the person in charge of your destiny. Even if it takes me twice as long to figure out my taxes or plan a trip, I do it myself. I stay the boss of my own home and my own time. If you want to keep your name on that mailbox and stay in your favorite chair, you must guard your right to choose with everything you've got. Don't let the world turn you into a spectator in your own life. Aging doesn't ask for permission, and it certainly doesn't wait until you feel ready. It chips away at your strength, your balance, and your memory until one day you realize you can't do what you used to do without thinking. Most people pretend it won't happen. They avoid the conversation, they avoid the paperwork, and they avoid making the small changes that could keep them independent longer. Then, one bad fall or one hospital visit decides everything for them. I refused to let a crisis write the ending of my story. While I was still strong, I made my home a fortress of independence. I installed grab bars in the bathroom, I cleared out the trip hazard rugs, and I moved my laundry room to the main floor. I organized my finances and wrote down exactly what I wanted for my future. This wasn't giving up. It was protecting my future self. Freedom often disappears, not just from physical weakness, but from a lack of preparation. If you want to stay in your home at 94, you have to think ahead before life forces your hand. By making my home safer now, I'm ensuring that a single slip doesn't mean a permanent move to a facility. Be realistic about the 94-year-old version of yourself, so that version of you can still live with dignity. Preparation is the ultimate act of self-reliance. One of the greatest dangers of getting older isn't a failing heart, it's a failing purpose. When you feel unnecessary, you start letting go of life. You stop taking care of yourself, you stop planning for tomorrow, and you stop fighting for your independence. I saw it happen to a man on my street after he retired and lost his wife. No one depended on him anymore. No one noticed if he stayed in his pajamas all day or if he skipped meals. Within 2 years, his spirit had simply withered away. So I made a quiet promise to myself, as long as I am breathing, I will find a way to be useful. I volunteer to read to children at the local library. I make it my mission to send handwritten birthday cards to every grandnephew and neighbor. I water the plants for the Miller family when they go on vacation. These are small things, but they give me a reason to put on my shirt and tie every morning. Independence isn't sustained by physical strength alone. It is fueled by purpose. When your life still matters to someone else, even in a small way, you fight harder to stay in it. You don't just exist, you contribute. Find a way to be a giver, not just a receiver. Whether it's mentoring a young person or simply being the one who remembers everyone's names, staying needed is the secret to staying alive. At 94, my body is no longer a silent partner. It's a vocal critic. Every morning, there is a new ache or a stiff joint that suggests I should just stay in bed. But I've learned that you cannot treat your body like an enemy. You have to negotiate with it. I don't ignore the pain, but I don't let it dictate my boundaries either. If my knees are stiff, I walk slower, but I still walk. If my grip is weak, I use a tool to open the jar, but I still cook my own meal. Many people my age see a cane or a hearing aid as a sign of defeat. I see them as liberation tools. If a walker allows me to go to the park instead of sitting on the porch, then that walker is a symbol of my freedom, not my frailty. I spend 20 minutes every morning doing basic balance exercises in my kitchen. It isn't about looking like an athlete. It's about ensuring I can reach for a glass of water without falling. Resilience is about adapting to the new normal without surrendering the old self. You have to be stubborn enough to keep moving, but wise enough to use the help that technology and medicine provide. Don't let your pride become the reason you lose your independence. Use every tool at your disposal to keep the machine running, because as long as you are moving, you are winning. The most dangerous kind of shrinking doesn't happen in your legs. It happens in your mind. The moment you stop being curious about the world is the moment you start to fade. I see so many people my age get trapped in a loop of the good old days, complaining about how the world has changed. They stop learning, stop reading, and stop engaging with the present. That mental stagnation is a fast track to losing your grip on reality in your life. I make it a point to stay curious. I read the news. I try to understand the new gadgets my grandkids use, and I keep learning new things. Last year, I took an online history course. This year, I'm learning how to grow heirloom tomatoes. A sharp mind is a protective barrier. It keeps you alert to scams, it allows you to participate in conversations, and it ensures you are still seen as a person with opinions, not just a senior to be humored. Don't let your world become a museum of the past. Stay in the 21st century. Keep your brain engaged with puzzles, debates, and new information. When you have an active, sovereign mind, people treat you differently. They respect your autonomy because you demonstrate it every time you speak. Your intellect is the captain of your ship. Keep it sharp, keep it curious, and it will keep you in command of your life. I am 94 years old. I sit in a chair that remembers my history, in a house filled with my own choices. I am here because I refuse to disappear before my time. Independence isn't a gift from the universe. It's a daily battle. It's one walk, one conversation, one decision, and one reason to wake up. One day, you will be where I am. Your world will try to close in on you, and your body will ask for rest. In that moment, you will either be standing in your own home or wishing you had fought harder to stay there. Don't wait. Start protecting your freedom now, while it still belongs to you. Because the nursing home doesn't begin when you move in. It begins the day you stop living like your independence matters.